Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to your great community for their hospitality. Been wonderful to be here, and I'm very pleased to support the bipartisan Great American Outdoors Act of 250 to reauthorize the Legacy Restoration Fund. And, you know, when the Great American Outdoors Act was signed into law, deferred maintenance in the Department of Interior was $22 billion. That's doubled in 5 years to about $40 billion. And that's evidence that Interior needs more tools to tackle the backlog. And so I would ask Secretary McGregor, what extent does project planning and environmental review, procurement requirements affect the speed at which maintenance projects can move forward from concept to conservation? Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, all of it. All of it does. And I think I like to use El Portal in California as a quick example. With no offense to Ranking Member Hoffman, California is not known to being a quick permitting state. It has some of its unique own state laws, such as CISA and CEQA, that you have to go through, as well as ESA, NEPA, NHPA, working with your state SHPO office for historic preservation. But El Portal, which is, I think now at $230 million, the largest project that we're solving for a wastewater facility. It was done under a categorical exclusion. It might be the only CADEX in the history of our country for a wastewater treatment plant. But if you think about it, it's built on the same footprint. It's serving the same purpose. It's impacting the same waters. It has that landscape has potentially changed, but it's still providing that same service, but better. And I think that we need to be sensible about looking at a lot of these projects. When you talk about hot springs, I imagine looking at that bathhouse or any other facility that is on the same footprint. It would be nice to have a way to go faster, knowing that it's still on that same footprint. And the environmental analysis, in many cases, has been done time over time on these footprints over and over again.
So talking about the CADEX or category exclusion, considering the bulk of the maintenance backlog is in the Park Service, how could the authority help them with the deferred maintenance problem?
I think that and many other provisions, it's ultimately up to you and where you all land on your final legislation. I'll just say that we do run into issues. We can get through NEPA, but oftentimes we'll run into NHPA issues or a local SHPO. And ultimately, everyone loves these different park structures, BLM structures, Forest Service structures, and they have a vision for what they'd like to see for that structure. Sometimes we have discussions on should we rebuild them so that they're more fire ready, because we have a wildland urban interface issue and we need to protect these sites from fire. And that's where it can get into a little bit of debate on what kind of shingle are we using. So I think giving us authorities to responsibly use it, and remember, it's not us, it's going to be park superintendents who can make use of those authorities to build back in a stronger and more durable way, but faster.
Well, and let me ask you about that. This bill has a revenue retention framework in the bill. Does it give the parks that have higher visitor use, does it give them the ability to kind of deal with some of this maintenance issue?
Yeah, and revenue retention always helps. It especially helps those larger parks who have greater visitorship. I think about Floria and the top 10 parks that receive the 80% of retained revenue and reinvest those. But the great leveling factor about the Great American Outdoors Act is finding a way to get these dollars. Well, they'll make a difference in some of the smaller parks that are equally as precious to the people who get to enjoy them, whether it's Valley Forge National Park, where I grew up playing on cannons, or some of the other smaller parcels that might not always get that retention because they don't have as much visitorship.
Yeah. Chief French, I'm almost out of time, but wanted to ask you about how the deferred maintenance that we currently have limits access for sportsmen.
Great question. Hear it all the time. For our sportsmen, what do they need? They need roads that can get them into the places where they want to hunt and fish. They need boat ramps. They need facilities to park. And as soon as those sorts of things are no longer available, we just hear about it. The other thing is we're starting to see over time historic access that used to go to public lands being changed. And so we work with partners to ensure that long-term access to public lands continue.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Thank you.